Officer Daniel Hayes adjusted his belt as he stepped out of his patrol car. The sun was setting over Elmwood, casting long shadows over the nearly deserted street. A black sedan sat parked at a red curb, engine still running. Hayes narrowed his eyes. Something wasn't right. He approached the vehicle, knocking firmly on the tinted window. It rolled down slowly, revealing a well-dressed man in his mid-40s, his face calm, his hands resting on the wheel. "License and registration," Hayes ordered, his voice sharp. The man didn't move. "Is there a problem, officer?" His tone was steady, unbothered. Hayes's grip tightened on his holster. "I said, license and registration." The man sighed, reaching into his pocket with deliberate slowness. He handed over a crisp leather wallet, watching Hayes with a piercing gaze. Hayes flipped it open, scanning the ID. Chief Elijah Carter. Hayes's stomach dropped. He had just ordered his own new commanding officer out of the car. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was louder than the city hum around them. "Step out of the vehicle," Hayes finally said, his voice uncertain. Carter raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure about that?" Hayes hesitated. He had already committed too much. The weight of his assumptions crushed down on him, yet pride refused to let him backpedal. "Yes, sir. Now." Carter sighed and complied, stepping onto the pavement, standing tall. The streetlights flickered as if the air itself sensed the tension. Hayes, still holding Carter's wallet, felt his authority slipping between his fingers like sand. "Mind telling me what this is really about?" Carter asked, his tone calm yet commanding. Hayes swallowed hard. "Suspicious vehicle," Carter smirked. "Suspicious, huh? Or just out of place?" A sharp pang of realization cut through Hayes. His mind replayed the moment, the tinted windows, the expensive suit, the unshaken demeanor. Had he judged Carter not by his actions, but by his presence? The shift in power was undeniable. Hayes wasn't in control anymore. He never had been. A squad car pulled up behind them, two officers stepping out, confused by the sight of their colleague towering over the new chief of police. Carter tilted his head. "Officer Hayes, I suggest you hand me back my wallet." Hayes hesitated for just a second too long. Now. The authority in Carter's voice snapped something inside Hayes. He placed the wallet back in Carter's hand, his own fingers stiff, cold. His badge suddenly felt heavier than it had that morning. Carter took a deep breath and exhaled slowly before speaking again, his tone measured but firm. "You think your badge gives you the right to judge people before knowing them?" He shook his head. "That badge is supposed to mean something more." Hayes felt a lump in his throat. The weight of his actions was settling in, heavier than any disciplinary report ever could be. Carter nodded. "You're going to report to my office first thing Monday morning. We'll have a long conversation about biases, authority, and how to truly serve this city." Hayes opened his mouth, but no words came out. Carter turned to the other officers. "We're done here." And just like that, the power shifted completely. Hayes was left standing alone under the streetlights, watching as his fellow officers drove off with the man whose respect he had just lost. The next morning, Hayes sat in his patrol car outside the precinct, gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. The arrogance he once carried felt foolish now. He had spent years enforcing the law, but had he ever truly understood it? Had he ever truly understood the people he swore to protect? Taking a deep breath, he stepped out, straightening his uniform. Today, he wasn't reporting for duty. Today, he was reporting to learn. As he walked toward the entrance, his eyes caught his reflection in the glass doors. He barely recognized himself. The badge on his chest had once been a symbol of control. Now, it felt like a responsibility. He inhaled deeply before pushing open the door. Inside, Chief Carter stood waiting, arms crossed. "Come in, Hayes," Carter said. "We've got a lot to talk about." Hayes squared his shoulders. This wasn't a punishment, it was an opportunity, a second chance. He wasn't sure where this road would lead, but one thing was certain. For the first time in his career, he wasn't just a cop. He was ready to become something more.